Hey everybody, this is going to be a little bit different video. This is going to be my first talking one, I guess. I'm not a big fan of doing that myself, but this was a big update, and there's a lot to talk about. Normally I'd type out a bunch of stuff, but I feel like a lot of that just goes unread or unnoticed. So I notice videos always get a lot more attention. There's some good, some bad. Not really going to prioritize it in that just because there's so much to go over that I've got opinions on. So I've just broken it down by kind of some groups here. To start off with, might as well start with the UI, since that's what we notice immediately when we log into the game. First thing we see is this home page. On first impression, I thought, man, this is some cool stuff. You could just click on it and see all the new things. It's pretty fancy. But the more I get into it, the more I notice it's very cluttered. There's a lot of windows. As you can see here, this gun is hidden. But I'll get into that in a second here. Back to the home page here. One of my complaints is there's no more hideout button. Of course, we've got all our raiders down here, but now they're all in a row. My issue with that is it is not arranged by faction. It appears to be arranged by level unlock, I believe. Thing about that is the hideout screen was arranged the same way that we would see the character select screen. So it became muscle memory. You knew where your characters are. It was just a lot faster to navigate with the hideout than it is now. Now you click on a character, and then you gotta figure out where the next one is. It used to be you knew where everybody was due to their order by faction. In addition, this new hideout arrangement seems to have a bug. So we do have a glitch here. Anyone with sound, all the sounds are tied to whatever you click on. So we've got Rack here. You can hear his bugs. His sounds will still play on every screen that you go to. You can go to the universe screen, and it's still there. Guild screen, store screen, all of it. You'll just hear whoever you last looked at. So some of them have a lot more sounds than others. Rack is one. Loat grunts a lot. Yune's snapping. So that's something. Some of these are minor, but just to bring it to attention. Something some people might not notice. Next thing I want to talk about is just again the UI is very cluttered. There's just a lot of windows. Let's say you want to look at something. You come in here, and there's just a lot. You hover over anything. There's windows covering your character now. They're covering the models. You can't zoom in. You used to be able to look at them. I know we can go here and preview a single skin, but not the loadout, not with the weapon anymore. You used to be able to do that, actually. You used to be able to see your character with the skin and the weapon you had equipped, and zoom in and look at them. But that's changed. I'm sorry. So, I've got the Easter egg equipped there. And if I want to look at Red Death, no more Easter egg. Additionally, if we want to look at a specific weapon, as soon as you go in here, you're covered in windows. The weapon's behind 2 windows. A lot of times, if your cursor is over here, it's behind 3. There's the hide show button, but this only works for the right-hand windows. These left ones will never go away on any of the screens they're on. Issue with that is you can't admire the models anymore. That's one of the big things that I know a lot of people like is, this game has amazing art. Great designs. We like looking at them, or at least I do. And now they're kind of hidden. Guns, skins, all of it. It all has your team here, and this this window full of buttons here. That's never going to go away on any of these at the moment. I've also noticed it seems like you can't zoom into weapons nearly as well as you used to be able to. It's really noticeable on smaller ones, like handguns. Like, Herrick has a big rifle, so you can see it, but I can't really zoom in very far on these anymore. And again, even though they're small, they still get hidden behind the windows. Another issue, as far as weapons are concerned, we have new skins for them. That's cool. And they apply to all of their guns, and we can preview them. That's fantastic. But if we look at them, they start out hidden behind the windows. There's a button that you can cycle through them. Well, they're still hidden behind the windows, so we can't really, see the whole gun if it's a bigger gun whenever we hit cycle. So if we hit hide and show to take that away, well, it also takes away the button to switch them. So just kind of a clunky interface as far as previewing something that is aesthetic. We want to be able to see the item that we're previewing without it being hidden. Another thing, cards. Just a minor complaint, but again, I'm just kind of going through what I've noticed. Anything rare seems really bright on the loadout screen. These look very bright to me. It's kind of hard to see the difference between the gold and the yellow, or the yellow and the white. But if you view the deck of cards, it's like they always used to be. It's a dimmer gold. There's more contrast. It's subtle, but they glow pretty bright to me compared to how they used to, and these still look like how they used to look like. As far as we're looking at these cards, it's just one quick, shout out. There are some characters that have unique cards that are not, that don't have a rare or don't have a common counterpart. They're special. And it would be fantastic if we could see some kind of UI change to differentiate those. While I'm looking at Hans, a great one is Emergency Reserve. It's the card I use for him all the time. Here we go. It's common only. It has no rare counterpart. But most people, when they go and look for cards, they usually only look for the rares because it's going to be the better version of the card. But we don't have a rare for that, so if you're only looking for rares, it's not going to be something you notice. Also, when you're shuffling, you may just keep shuffling until you see something rare. But some of these cards are really good. They're very unique. Other characters that come to mind, Shay has Eclipse and Constantine has Emergency Reserve. Those are both rare only. They don't have a common counterpart. But it would just be nice to maybe change the color for those. Purple or green, something to look different. In any case, something else that's new is I've noticed there's now a gold light on the previews. Kind of really noticeable on characters that wear a lot of white, like Herrick here. I've noticed his bandages really stand out with this gold. The first time I noticed it was going through the store and watching his bundle, the Headhunter skin. I almost thought his skin looked green here. The leather on it, it's just not. It has like an ambient light now. Not a real big fan of that ambient light. It just kind of affects how things look compared to how it used to. It used to be very neutral. That's just a personal opinion, but it's after years of it being the same, it's just kind of weird for that to change. Now, one last thing for the UI is previewing items. You can't preview things with skins, or rather, you can't preview with your loadout. So, whenever I was going through the store, you actually can, and I'll get to that right after this, but in your own loadout, I thought, okay, well, I might want to equip a sword on Doldrin with this skin, because I think this skin's super cool, and I think the sword would be really fitting for him. Well, I'll go to view it, and it takes the skin away. It just, regular Doldrin, I don't get to see how he looks with that sword, and the skin. That's something that would be great if we could get that changed. I know that it seems to be some kind of coding for that because it works for the bundle. That's a good way to go into the next big subject, or the next section of issues, the store. I actually really like this user interface. It's pretty user friendly. It's pretty self-explanatory. I liked it whenever I first opened it. This was a great first impression, and I thought, man, this is a cool update. It's got a lot of fancy things to it. You can see everything. This is something that I believe Mercury Steam has needed to add for a very long time now. We've always asked for more monetization options. They've done sales in the past, and I think they were pretty great. Just more things to buy and spend money on other than just big skins. So that's really cool. But just to show what I mean, mentioning the weapon previews, as we can see here, I can look at the sword with a skin as long as it's part of a pack. But if the skin you want to look at and the item you have is not in a pack, well, then you're out of luck. The bundles themselves are really fantastic. It's what I really love, something that is ahead of its time, is if you already own an item, it takes that off, but it keeps the bundle discount for what you don't own. As a longtime Warframe player, we always have people comparing the two games. They've had monetization for a lot longer than Spacelords. And that's something that they've always had an issue with. If you own something in a bundle, and then you bought the bundle, you were out of luck. You paid for the whole thing, it didn't matter. And that's only gotten worse as years go by. So I love that they did this, and it's done really well. It's fantastic. As far as the bundle sales go, I really like the rotating discounts. It was explained in the update, but I do wish that it was put somewhere so that we could easily see that in the game. I think a fantastic place to be would be just right on the home page here on the splash page. This is what you see when you log in. Have it displayed somewhere that shows how often they rotate the 10%, the 20%, and the 40%, as well as it was mentioned there were some that may be 30%, some special occurrences, maybe even show a timer. It's a great thing. We could then plan, hey, there's going to be new stuff coming out. I want to see when that stuff happens. Great thing that happened was they lowered the prices of two of the most controversial skins in the game. They've always had a lot of discussion since they came out, and that's Lot's Grendel and Ginebra's Slave skin. They were the most expensive skins in the game, so it's always good to see those come down in price. Thanks Mercury Steam for listening to that and continuing to lower them. It was one of the first things that actually made me criticize the game is whenever the Slave skin first came out. It's what made me jump onto the forums and make an account so I could give feedback. It was $90 worth of Mercury points when it came out, and that has dropped significantly since then. It used to be 9,000, and now it's down to 30, but nowhere near what it used to be. So that's fantastic. Grendel's also cheaper. It was always kind of lower, but it keeps coming down too, so that's great. Plus we have this one, which is more expensive, but come on, it's one of the best skins. How can you not love it? I believe the emotes, you know, you buy them per character, that's okay. They're cheap, so that's fine. They're really cheap. It's something that we can spend on our favorite characters and not have to worry about it. Weapons, however, I don't like... I find it bad that they all have the same animation, but you have to buy them for each character. I originally thought that they would each have unique animations depending on the character. Like we were shown clips of Hans using the hammer, and you could see his jetpack firing up in the middle of his finisher animation. Well, Constantine doesn't have a jetpack, so how's that going to look? I haven't bought any of these just yet because I can't decide who I want them on, since they're not a buy one for everybody. But from those who have bought multiple of the same weapon on different characters, I've been told they all have the same animation. I feel like it either needs to buy one weapon and it work for everybody if it's going to be a single animation for everybody, or give them all unique animations, and then that would make sense for us to buy each one. Even if they're the same model, if they had different animations, it would make sense to purchase per character. That's just my opinion. I do know that a lot of people have complained about it, especially because they are not super... I mean, they are reasonable. I think they're a great price, but per character, it gets pretty pricey, especially if you want a sword on, I don't know, 2 or 3 characters, which I kind of do. Then we get to the weapon skins. I think these are super cool. I like some of them. But why are some more expensive than others? It's very arbitrary pricing. This has been an issue that a lot of people have criticized before in the past with the skin prices. Some skins are really cheap, like Lycus's Mars Mercenary is, I believe, the cheapest skin in the game. And then others are super expensive, like Genebra's Slave Unit, without really much rhyme or reason. Now we are continuing that tradition with the weapon skins, even though each character only has one bundle of skins at the moment. I do really like these. I think the 150 is great. 350, I don't know. It's really all up to personal preference. Like, I think some of the common ones are cooler than the rare ones, but there's just no real reason. Like Constantine's just has a blue glowing effect to it, compared to others that have more extravagant effects. And that's something that some people didn't even notice until I'd mentioned it. Finally, I do have to call out personally one of the worst parts of the update, and that's status. The trailer, whenever talking about status, I assumed the status would have been used as a substitution for mercury points, so you could buy cosmetics by grinding a lot. A lot of free-to-play games, such as Dead by Daylight and others, Evolve, that kind of game, they have a currency like that. You can buy skins by purchasing the premium currency, such as mercury points, and you could just buy it and it's yours instantly. Or you could grind the special currency, which is like how we get status. It's apparently a very slow accumulation, but that's all up for debate. And then you could eventually just grind out some cosmetics. Not all of them. You know, some of the rare ones you couldn't purchase with the currency. I believe it's blood shards or red shards in Dead by Daylight. But the trailer made it look like you could purchase cosmetics with them. And all we could buy right now are consumable disco emotes. I absolutely feel like that's an insult to longtime players. First of all, they're consumable, so you give us a new currency just to buy something that is going to be used up. Second of all, there's not a lot of choices here. Of course, there could always be more things added in the future. Who knows where they're going to go with it? It's always good to have more options. But they're very disappointing, and especially the fact that they're consumable. If they were a one-time purchase, for a permanent use, even that would be better. it would make more sense, or purchase for everybody. But the fact that they're consumable makes no sense. And also, if I just have to say, the music selection, you guys didn't want to put Lycus's dance music? Come on. It's a missed opportunity. Alright, and finally, I don't have a whole lot to show for this, but for gameplay, I'm going to start off with kind of the good and end with the bad. The good, I do love the new user interface for the mission objectives. I think it's great to have the giant pop-up at the top. You've got, the new button you push to see the mission status. That's fantastic. And I love to be able to see the MMR, the match MMR, the antagonist MMR, and the ultimate mission difficulty with both sides in play. That's great to be able to see it in mission on demand. One thing I hate about the new pop-up, it happens even on the character selection screen as Raider and antagonist, and when you get into the mission, and every time you spawn, is there's a horrible screeching sound effect. It sounds literally like nails on a chalkboard to me. It's the loudest sound in the game, and the first time I heard it, whenever I jumped in as antagonist right after the update launched, I was really confused. So that would be great if that could be removed, or quieten the volume lowered, something. It needs to be changed, in my opinion. Speaking of sounds, I do love that the sound effect, the punching sound effect, like when you take a hit, was finally removed for healing. So kudos for fixing that issue, and kudos for fixing the short fuse exploit that I have reported before. So that's fantastic. Good gameplay enhancements there, even if they're quality of life, or at least the sound effect quality of life. Antagonist spawn points, I am really liking them. They're a great idea. They're in use. They're pretty fun and add a lot of options. A couple of enhancements I think need to happen are making the cycle option available again. Old antagonist spawn points, you pushed L1, R1, you cycled through them, each one. But now you have to point your camera at one of the blobs and push the button to teleport to it. That was not explained anywhere that I noticed. I only learned about it from Sasuke when he told me, and that's when I learned, just by somebody else telling it to me. I kept pushing the button whenever I was playing antagonist for 3 or 4 games before talking to him, and it just seemed like the button didn't work, like it was broken. I didn't know that I had to click on it, so that's not user-friendly. I think that it's a fine system to keep, but I would like the ability as an antagonist to switch between it. Go into the options menu and maybe choose to use the point and click or choose the cycle. On console, I feel like cycling with a button is quicker than moving the analog sticks and point and click. But obviously, if you're on PC, point and click would be super intuitive. So it's just something that I feel like would help the new spawn points. As well as, I do believe clear boundaries should be given. On smaller maps, I felt like I had kind of free reign to spawn anywhere, and that was really cool. It almost seemed more like the spawn points were the border. That's what I thought they were at first, because my first missions were in tighter areas. But as I played a larger map like Double Agent, the second part in the Schneider boss fight area is massive. But even certain spawn points, I couldn't even go 2 feet away in a certain direction. They were it almost seemed like a glitch to me. Like it didn't make sense where I could and could not spawn, because I was still very close to the spawn point and it wouldn't allow me to spawn in a certain direction. So it would just be nice if there were borders or some kind of user interface feedback so that we could tell where we can and cannot spawn with the new spawn points. If there's a barrier that we just can't go, period, just section that off with, I don't know, a red line, something, anything really. Right now, just not letting you spawn, turning the screen gray, I mean, it works, but it wastes time while I'm trying to figure out where to spawn. Finally, I have to talk about the drop system. I really think that's the big issue as far as gameplay goes at this point. It's really not good in a lot of people's opinions from discussions that I've had on the Discord and in chats. It makes the gameplay that's already quite hectic, it messes with the flow. It's very hectic to see where that Aleph drops after you make a kill because you don't automatically get it. I had assumed whenever the drops were discussed or were announced that they would only drop after you were full, so that it wouldn't go to waste. That doesn't happen, so you can make a kill and you can get 0 Aleph out of it. Somebody can steal it. An enemy can steal it. If you're in PvP, that's a big problem. Even bigger problem if you are an antagonist. You already have extremely limited invulnerability time. I've made numerous complaints where, especially if there's lag or a cross-platform host, as soon as you make a finisher, you almost have no invincibility before you're attacked again, just because it's too short, and latency can come into play. Now that you don't even get Aleph from it, that can just be a death sentence, and especially if you're trying to hectically search around for Aleph, and a raider could get it. So that's a big issue in my opinion. I did play a couple of games the day before the update dropped, and I felt like I was kind of keeping my cool, and I won 3 matches in a row without really any issue. They were challenging, but fun. As soon as the update dropped and I played, all my antag missions, I felt like I was a chicken with my head cut off. I couldn't tell where Aleph was. It was all over the place. It just doesn't spawn in intuitive ways. Especially it doesn't even pop up or show you where it pops up until you're basically done with your animation of doing your finisher. So then you have to waste your invulnerability time searching for it. Another issue with the drops is the fact that you can't waste Aleph. It's impossible now. Yes, enemies can pick it up, so if you're in a PvP situation, one of your allies can get it. Maybe an elite can get it if you're an antagonist, but that's if you have any elites. I rarely have any AI support. So in a situation, I had 5 Aleph already. I kill a raider that also has 5 Aleph, and then there's just a 5 Aleph drop sitting around on the map waiting for raiders to pick it up. It's free for the taking. It's very difficult to deny Aleph now if it just sits around with no way to spend it or use it. I do understand the roadmap has a lot of cool looking things coming up on the horizon, so I'm looking really forward to those. But for now, the drop system just causes a lot of issues. At the very least, it would be good to give you the option to pick it up automatically, like the old system worked, until you're full. That would be a great compromise. I believe most people would agree with that. Or another option, talking with Sasuke, and a way to just make a choice. That way it would solve both issues of not being able to pick it up automatically and not having any way to use it up. And the choice would be just hold the button down to automatically absorb it, or just push the button for your finisher, and that would just drop it on the ground. So if you are an antagonist and you purposely want to steal that Aleph so that the raiders can't get it, you could just press and hold square, and then you can immediately get the Aleph, choose to keep it, or choose to let it drop. Just give the players a choice. It'd be as simple as that. I mean, I say it's as simple as that, but I'm not a developer. But the option needs to be there for reasons. Obviously, sometimes you don't want Aleph laying around for other people to take. Even raiders. I've heard of raiders just letting Aleph sit around, and then an elite picks it up and wipes their team out. So just letting it sit, kind of causes some issues. Even playing as a raider last night, I was making kills and other raiders were stealing my Aleph. So that's just really annoying. And then one last thing, Telchuk is still not nerfed. So that's still a problem that affects gameplay. Anyways, I'm sorry if this went on so long. I'm not really good at the whole presenting my thoughts in a well-defined manner in a short video like some others. It's just not my forte. But I felt like some of this needed to be said, and there was a lot of it and too much to just type out. I didn't feel like it would get read. So I hope some people agree with me, or if you don't, that's fine. You can leave some comments. But yeah, that's about it. Thank you.